Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we are back. Second segment tonight. This is an article about Superintendent Brown being under fire from CBS 2 News. There wasn't a video story. All I could get was the written piece. Here is the title for our podcast listeners. Hailed as national leader 5 years ago after deadly ambush on Dallas cops. David Brown now under fire for handling of Chicago crime as city's top cop. He is extremely under fire, and he deserves to be, and he's going to continue to be under fire. Now, first of all, there's always a danger in picking someone who's famous over a single incident. For those who don't know, I'll get into the quotes of the article about why. For many police chiefs, there is this propaganda about what they do, what they say they're doing, and what the numbers and data actually show is going on. They often are in massive, massive conflict. This is why the Chicago Justice Project exists, to break that conflict. So let's go into the article and take some quotes and talk about it. 5 years ago this week, when he was still the police chief in Dallas, David Brown was thrust into the national spotlight when a sniper killed 5 police officers in an ambush. There was some police accountability march, anti-police brutality march in Dallas. A sniper started, I think, shooting both citizens and people marching, non-cops and police officers, and killed 5. Right? So I'm not going to talk about that incident so much, except for the fact that you got to question when a single incident puts a police leader like this in the national spotlight. What's behind it? Why was he never in the spotlight before? Right? Now, what did he do to get in the spotlight? So, they got this sniper cornered down a hallway. There's no escape for him. They try to send officers down, and during that time he shoots them. And actually, one of the officers he murdered is during that attempt to go down the hallway or corridor and get him. So Brown made a decision that they have a drug sniffing, drug bomb dog, drug robot, some kind of robot thing that goes and handles bombs. So they put, instead of, I guess it's supposed to help them get rid of bombs, defuse them. This time the police flipped it under Brown's authority and put a bomb on the robot and wheeled the robot, pushed remotely down the hallway, and blew up the suspect and killed him. And there were all kinds of people from both sides saying what should have happened, what they should have done. But this is what put Brown in the limelight. Okay, but challenging decision. You got to make the tough calls. I don't really feel too bad about that. I don't want a police officer being judge, jury, and executioner, but I guess they were supposed to wait a couple of days for him to starve out. I don't know. I could go either way on that, I guess, but that's what put him into the spotlight. Why wasn't he in the spotlight for what he did before that? And the question is there anything behind what he did before that to make him worthy? I don't think his other accomplishments really stand up to scrutiny. Here are a couple more quotes from the article. We're asking cops to do too much in this country, said Brown. Every societal failure would put it on the cops to solve. He listed mental health, drug addiction, loose dogs, failing schools as problems the public expects cops to solve. Wow. Hey, man, you're in it. We're together. We need to take calls for service away from the police. Let's get 30, 40, 50, 80% of the calls that come to 911. Let's get them off the cops' plate. Let's defund you guys. Take some money out of you and build up resources, build up alternative responses, crisis response things to handle drug addiction and mental health. I'm there with you. Where the thing happens is he doesn't want any of their authority to go. He wants them to still respond to everything. That's a BS statement from a propagandist. That's just propaganda. That's feeding chum to the media there. oh, it give us mental health, drug addiction, give us all these things. He's right, except he doesn't want to change anything fundamentally that would stop the police from having to show up with those things. Then what good is that statement if he's not ready to take the next step? If it's only a talking point, then it's propaganda. If it's going to lead to action, fine. He's done nothing. Zero, ladies and gentlemen, zero in Chicago on this to make that change. In fact, all he's asked is for more cops. Back to the article. At that time, Brown's appointment was highly praised. Due to his efforts to improve relations between police and minority residents while in Dallas, he was also lauded for emphasizing de-escalation tactics, increasing the use of police body cameras and dashboard cameras, focusing on community policing initiatives, increasing diversity in the ranks, and publishing never-before-released data on police use of force. Dallas does not publish a whole lot of data, so that is crapola. Let's just get that out of the way. Body cameras? Okay, but they're spreading all over the country. That doesn't seem awesome. De-escalation tactics? Maybe, but I haven't seen anything in him in Chicago that says he's a world-renowned de-escalationer. I don't see any of that. He is community policing, but guess what, ladies and gentlemen? Community policing, for the most part, is BS of the strongest possible version. There was a horrible criminology, or at least I shouldn't say he's a horrible criminologist. He wrote a horrible book on police culture. John Crank, I think his name was. He used to be at Florida A&T University. I don't know if he's still there, so he might still be there, but it was years ago on my master's degree. And he said one interesting line in his book that I found really, really meaningful was about community policing. He said community policing is just the police getting a warrant from the community what they were going to do anyways. That's right. And that's 100% right. Community policing really doesn't fundamentally change the dynamics such as it's practiced in the United States, especially in Chicago. It doesn't really fundamentally change what happens in those communities. It makes people feel like things are changing, but it isn't really. I don't know of any research that says, hey, you know what? Cops are less brutal. There's less brutality. There's less shootings. There's less lawsuits against the cops when there's some kind of community policing plan in place. The community policing team he's got out now, he's got this 300-man unit. They got in all kinds of trouble. Bad warrant searches. They had guys that are about to be fired on there, brutal guys on the team. So I just don't think all of that stuff about him is built up, is really supported by the facts in Dallas. I mean, if you read that, he sounds awesome. I don't think the media did enough digging to know if any of that stuff is actually supported. They read some headlines in Dallas and just went with it. They read his book and they went with it. Listen, pointing his fingers, as we have known now, and he's continuing to point fingers at the courts. We went over it the last couple shows. That's his jam, ladies and gentlemen. That is what he does. Manipulating crime stats, that's also his jam. He did it in Dallas big time. We got a report coming out on this man in about 4 weeks. We're going to show you what the real Brown is like that you did not get from the Chicago media. You didn't get from the city council in his confirmation hearing. Pointing fingers, his jam. Manipulating crime stats, manipulating the media, that's his jam also. Nothing he's doing in Chicago should be a surprise to anyone that did research on what he did in Dallas in his tenure. The problem is, for the most part, the media didn't do it. Patrick Smith at BEZ did a little bit of it. The rest of the people totally whiffed. And we got a report coming out in 4 weeks, maybe two pieces to that research, but I'm not sure if it's all in one or we're going to split it up into a couple different pieces. But we're going to look at the Chicago media coverage of Brown too, before and during his confirmation and after. Bad. They just totally missed the boat.